Finding Finding math in family meals and traditions. Welcome, everyone. We're really excited to have you as you are all streaming into the room. We are the Center for Family Math, and we are joined by our amazing colleagues at PBS SoCal, as well as the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. And we are here to bring you a really exciting webinar on the math of food, where we are going to talk about how we find math in family meals and traditions. If you go to the next slide, Lori, we have an invitation to everyone who's here with us today. We ask that you please introduce yourself in the chat and share one meal your family loves to enjoy together. We have our amazing director of the Center for Family Math, Holly Kreider, here. Holly, if you want to come up. Holly, what's one meal that your family loves to enjoy together?
Okay. So my grandmother had this tradition of having what we called a German dinner night in my family, and she's passed away, but we still do that, and that's been passed on for 4 generations. And we make something called Spatzel, which is a sort of homemade little egg noodle, and it involves a little counting, a little bit of fractions, and a lot of messiness in the kitchen. But it's
Oh,
just a
I love
beloved
it.
recipe with like 4 ingredients, and the family recipe book is all splotchy and dirty, and it doesn't matter. Everybody knows how to make it in our family, all the little kids too.
Oh, that's terrific. And in the chat, we have gumbo, Thanksgiving, sesame tofu, delicious. Oh, I love, Emily says, we love breakfast for dinner. There's nothing better than having breakfast for dinner for sure. Tacos, enchiladas, these are all great. Homemade peanut sauce over noodles, yum. I
Korean
love it. This is
bulgogi. Oh, I love that.
Oh, so good. So if we go to the next slide, we'll go ahead and get into the heart of our conversation today, which will not only, I guess, leave you a little smarter about math, but might also leave you a little hungry. But we are the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. And our mission is advancing high impact policies and practices for family, school, and community engagement to promote child development and improve student achievement. And our vision is one of a world where family engagement is universally practiced as an essential strategy for improving children's learning and advancing equity. And as part of NAFSCE, you will see that we are the Center for Family Math. And the mission of the Center for Family Math is to unlock the power and joy of math through family and community engagement. So thank you again for being here for our webinar today on the math of food, where we're going to find math in family meals and traditions. And today's session is brought to you by the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub, which is a statewide resource center designed to really build stronger partnerships between families, schools, and districts under the leadership of the SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. So it is my delight to introduce Dr. Lanisha Makeley-Ridley, who is co-director of the Hub, and Jeanette Mejias, who is the program director for family engagement, who are the inspiration and the ones who really cooked up this series. So Lanisha and Jeanette, I'm going to pass it over to you for just a few words of welcome and introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Maggie said, my name is Dr. Lanisha Makel-Ridley. Jeanette Mejias and I both serve as co-project directors for the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. The Hub is one of the U.S. Department of Education statewide family engagement centers. We're a centralized information hub for educators, families, community-based organizations, and youth around family engagement. Our goal is to create bridges and build collaborations between all of those partners for the betterment of student success. We do that by having tools and strategies through in-person workshops, online webinar series such as the one today, so that we can provide the tools needed by families, by community partners, by educators, because we cannot do it alone. We need everyone, both in school and out of school, to work together to empower our youth so they can let us know what they need to be successful in school and out of school. So, one of the byproducts of this brainstorm that we had to have this webinar series is that we want to create a Math of Food recipe book. So, we're going to ask everyone, please scan this QR code. Please, everything that you listed in the chat, the enchiladas, the breakfast for dinner, the chili, everything, there's a recipe for it, and we want to collect them. So after this series, we plan to publish our recipe book and have it available for families so they can see how math plays into different recipes, how they are relevant across cultures. Food is universal. And so it doesn't matter what culture you're in, what community you're in, we all eat. We might eat different things, but we eat. And so there is math in everything that we're eating. And we want to be able to show that through our recipe book and also build some awareness about different cultural dishes. And, like I said, you guys make me hungry. So we just want to share everything. And so we are encouraging everyone, please participate in our recipe book. Please show how math is used in your everyday life. Please celebrate the culture and creativity in your family traditions. We want to inspire our children and our families in a fun, meaningful way through math. And also, we want to create this community resource. So when you upload your recipe, there's also a way for you to upload any pictures you have of you and your children or your family creating these recipes, any, family traditions you want to share. All of that will be included in the recipe book, and we welcome your participation.
Thank you so much, Lanisha. That's great. And keep the conversation going in the chat box. It looks like there's some really interesting resources being shared. So I'm not going to talk too long, but I just wanted to set the table with a little bit of a foundation of what we mean when we think about family math. So we define family math as culturally relevant math activities and interactions occurring within the informal contexts in which families engage with children and youth. So this means family math is not worksheets or bringing school to home, but it's really celebrating the joy and love that occurs around math in families and children's everyday lives, especially when cooking or grocery shopping or eating together. So for those of you who follow our work closely, you might know that we recently released the Family Math Core Competencies, which you can see on the screen, is in essence a compendium of the knowledge, skills, and ways that family math professionals build meaningful partnerships with families around math. And these competencies we like to think about in four main categories of reflect, connect, collaborate, and lead. Reflect is really about looking inward and centering the joy of math. Connecting focuses on building relationships and creating the conditions for math engagement. Collaboration is about working in partnerships with families to co-create meaningful math learning. And lead means acting in solidarity with families to build the systems and conditions that strengthen family math across schools and community settings. And each of these competencies is laid out in this matrix. And the goal of this webinar series is really to help us dive into different components of this framework and hear how these ideas show up in practice. So today, we're going to be placing a particular focus on the idea that when we connect with families around mathematics, it's important to anchor math in familiar ideas. So this means that family math practitioners are pairing math experiences with familiar family and community practices like cooking. So without further ado, it is my real sincere pleasure to introduce today's three presenters who are part of PBS SoCal, which you're going to hear about in a few minutes, and the amazing creators of the Cooking Counts YouTube series. So a big welcome to Rosemary Miller, who is Senior Director of Early Learning at PBS SoCal, Brianna Marquez, who is Director of Early Learning Partnerships, and Carla Pineda, who is the digital producer for education. So Rosemary, Brianna, and Carla, the kitchen is yours.
Thank you, Maggie. And thank you, Lanisha, as well, for setting that context for us today. We are excited to share a bit about our program with you. Next slide, please. So a little bit about who we are and why we're doing this work. We are the local PBS station for Southern California, and our mission is to use the power of media for the public good to open worlds of possibilities for all kids so that every child can reach their full potential in school and in life. And in case you hadn't heard about us before, resources are always free. So everything that we share today, and including everything you can find on our website, everything is free, bilingual in English and Spanish. We provide digital resources, printable. We are research-based and aligned. We conduct internal and external research, make sure we're aligning to standards. And we're multi-platform. So a lot of people will know PBS as what they see on air or through our friendly characters like Daniel Tiger or Sesame Street. But we also do on-the-ground work in our community, as do PBS stations across the country. So if you are not connected to your local PBS station, I highly recommend reaching out. They are doing incredible work. Next slide, please. So locally for us, we reach about 19 million households across Southern California in urban, suburban, and rural areas. And specifically for our kids and family work, we reach about 2 million families over broadcast and digital. And then on the ground in that community-driven work that I was just sharing about, we distribute about 30,000 educational materials annually, and we partner with schools, libraries, early childhood centers, home-based providers, FFNs, you name it, to bring our content and resources to the community for free. Next slide, please. So we are one of many PBS stations across the country, and everything we're going to share today, although it was developed by us at PBS SoCal, is available no matter where you live. So I did see we have some friends from KET, which is the PBS station in Kentucky, here today. They have been a phenomenal partner in family math with us. But just know that although we are here representing PBS SoCal today, we are part of this larger system that is doing incredible work on the ground in communities, no matter where you are across the country. Next slide, please. So an initiative that we developed at PBS SoCal back in 2019 is called Family Math. And Family Math is all about building positivity, confidence, and knowledge of foundational math skills, really focused on our youngest learners, so families with children ages 2 to 5 years old. The program focuses not only on kids, but also all the adults in their lives, parents, caregivers, educators, and equipping them with the strategies and resources to facilitate meaningful math experiences at home through playful learning and hands-on activity. We want math to be embedded into the everyday routines families are already doing, and oftentimes they're doing math and not even totally realizing it. And so our goal is about shedding light on the many ways in which families can and are embedding math into their daily routines, cooking being a great one of those. So Family Math covers 6 topics: number, sense, and counting, shapes, sorting and collecting, patterns, spatial sense, and measurement. And these were all developed in alignment with the Head Start Early Learning Outcomes framework, as well as the Common Core state standards and the preschool foundations that we have here in California. Next slide, please. So family math, like I said, is all about developing that knowledge, confidence, and positivity. In terms of the vision for the work, it's really thriving families that can recognize the educational implications of their everyday practices and engaging in playful and authentic learning. We don't want this to feel like an extra chore or something additional families need to do. Oftentimes they're already doing it. And then partnering with organizations, educators, providers, you name it, across the country to enable community-based organizations who are supporting parents and caregivers to support their early math development through play. And with that, I will toss it off to Carla, who's going to dive into Cooking Counts.
Yes, thank you, Rosemary, and hello, everyone. So I want to echo what Lanisha said earlier, that eating is one of the most universal family experiences. It's one of my favorite activities with my family. So shopping for groceries, preparing yummy meals, even cleanup after, right? All of this range of activities presents playful opportunities to explore math along the way, right? In our series, Cooking Counts, we show you quick, healthy, and mathy meals for parents and caregivers to prepare with their kids. Through simple recipes, our hosts show that it only takes a few questions to discover math while they're cooking. And many families are probably already practicing this curiosity in their own kitchens, right? We cover 6 math topics, as Rosemary mentioned, in our family math program. We covered these throughout 4 recipes, and each was filmed separately in English and in Spanish. And our hosts are a mom and son duo. Next slide, please. When we started casting for this role, it was important to find a child and a parent who are part of the community that we serve in Los Angeles. And enter the chat. Patty Rodriguez, she's an LA-based radio personality and co-founder of a bilingual children's book company. And this is her son, Oliver. I'll talk a little bit more about representation in a couple of slides, but for now, let's watch this preview of the show.
What's better than having fun with your kid while learning and filling hungry bellies? Cooking Counts does all these things. Hi, I'm Patty. Join my son, Oliver, and I as we follow simple recipes to make yummy snacks while building early math skills. Connect, learn, enjoy.
Subscribe and watch at the new PBS SoCal Family Math YouTube channel.
So in our next clip, we'll watch an example of the hosts practicing one-to-one correspondence and building a number bond with chocolate chips and raisins.
Today we're making apple snails.
This quick recipe is loaded with healthy ingredients and packed with scrumptious energy bites. And we're gonna start, Oliver, by counting the ingredients. You wanna count with me?
Yes.
1 red apple,
1 celery stick,
4 pretzel sticks, and 8 chocolate chips or raisins. What are we using today, Oliver?
How about both? 1,
2,
2, 3, 4.
4.
Now the raisins. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So we now have 4 chocolate chips and 4 raisins, making a total of what? 8
in total.
Yay. So in our next clip, in our quesadilla recipe, Oliver explores shapes and how they transform when a tortilla is folded and cut into halves.
Go ahead and cut the quesadilla in half. Right here, right in half. Okay. Yeah, okay. And then
Cut it on this side, directly like this.
right there again. And what shape are we forming there?
Triangle,
Triangles. And how do you know this is a triangle, Oliver?
because it has 3 corners.
So as you can see, also kind of showing the realities of the kitchen was important to us, right? That Cooking is not this perfect and clean experience, right? There will be a little bit of a mess and you have to move things around and coordinate in the kitchen. So that was important. But cultural relevance also played a key role. Next slide, please. In the recipe selection for the show and in our approach to each language. So this is an important part of our workflow with all of the resources we develop. So here on the left, you see an example from this Cooking Counts series where there's a slight difference in the title between burrito bowl in English and a tortilla-less burrito in Spanish, right? We researched how this meal tends to appear on Latin American menus, and we decided to go with something that's a little more descriptive in Spanish instead of the Anglicism of bol de burrito, right? As we were kind of seeing in different places. On the right, you can see a sneak peek of our game called Lemonade Stand. It'll debut in our soon-to-be released Family Math app. And you see here that in English, the title of the game is Lemonade Stand. But in Spanish, we decided to go with something that's a little more culturally relevant, an agua fresca, because lemonade stands aren't as culturally prevalent in Spanish language countries. So that's just a quick sneak peek of our Family Math app and just how we approach language and cultural relevance across all of our resources. And now I'll pass to Rosemary to guide us on a delicious exercise.
Thanks, Carla. Little break here. We are about halfway through our presentation, and also many of you are probably about halfway through your day, if not more. So we figured we just all do a breathing exercise together. This is actually pulled from our Cooking Counts workshop that we'll share about in just a moment. But if you feel so inclined, you can join us in a cool down pie. You're going to sit in a comfortable position. Imagine you have a nice warm pie in front of you. I'm curious what your flavor of choice is. You're going to breathe in through your nose to really smell that delicious warm pie. And you're going to breathe out through your mouth to cool down that hot pie. And then you're going to do it again. You're going to breathe in through your nose and smell that apple crumble or whatever it is. And then breathe out and cool down that pie so it's ready for you to eat. All right, next slide, please. So this breathing exercise can be found in our workshop model that we developed to go along with the Cooking Count show. And we guide children and families in doing that cool down pie as part of the workshop. So when we were thinking about the show and how we wanted to bring it to the community, yes, it's available on YouTube, but we're also on the ground daily working with kids and families across libraries, schools, in centers, you name it, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA. And so we wanted to develop a workshop for kids and adults that would be fun for both, where they are practicing embedding these early math skills when creating something. We know there are limitations to actually cooking in some of these settings. In some situations we work in, food is not allowed in the space or there are allergy concerns. So instead we developed what we call a pom-pom pie, where you are imagining that it is real, although it is made out of pom-poms. And as you're doing it together, you are practicing early math skills. You're practicing some sorting, you're practicing some number sense and counting, and some measurement as well. And you get to create a cute little chef's hat to go along with it. And so we will be sharing where to find all of these resources. If you would like to do the Pom Pom Pie workshop, we have facilitator guides, Google Slides, handouts, invitations, printables, all of it ready to go. Now I'm going to pass to Bree.
Thanks, Rosemary. You've heard about our wonderful cooking show and our workshop model, but we wanted to take Family Math Cooking Counts beyond YouTube and our workshop model. So we developed our activity booklets that you see here. There's 3 versions that you'll see. All of our materials are bilingual English and Spanish. And so you'll see it's available in English and Spanish, but with this specific resource, we also have it available in Chinese. And I do want to touch that we take partnership and parent feedback and our community feedback and integrate it wherever we can. And so something we were hearing from our community was the Chinese was also a big need, and we were able to transcreate this material specifically in Chinese as well. So again, it's available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. Next slide, please. We know that math is everywhere. So whether you're on the go to the grocery store, coming home from the grocery store, putting away your grocery stores, making a healthy snack, or putting a family meal together, there's so many different hands-on activities in those booklets. So whether you're counting and matching and you want to do an interactive activity, whether you're putting those groceries away and you want to talk about specific language or math talk, or whether you're cooking a snack and you want to integrate some of those videos that Carla shared with you earlier, there's literally a list of the ingredients needed, and all of our videos are less than 8 minutes long, so it's quick and easy and fun. Next slide, please. We wanted to also touch on the different types of partnerships we have and how some of those partners are integrating family math and cooking. So one of those partners is our partnership with Mother's Nutritional Center. If you're unfamiliar with them, they have 83 grocery stores throughout California. And they specifically originally started to support mothers who were receiving WIC services or EBT or SNAP benefits, but they are now open to the public and community, and anybody can come in. They have multiple different programs to support with, if you buy like 10 dairy products, you get a milk gallon for free. They give back fruits and vegetables every time you shop with them. So specifically with them, we're working with 3 of their locations in Santa Ana, Compton, and Long Beach. And with them, we will be distributing 18,000 co-branded grocery bags that will be filled with felt veggie baskets, cutting boards, and some of those cooking counts activity booklets I just shared with you. And they'll also be distributing some of those inside their store locations when families come in to shop. Next slide, please. In addition, we wanted to share some of the examples of the way other partners are integrating or implementing the workshops, the YouTube videos, or the activities. We have our resource and referral organizations that are having their engagement specialists out in the community facilitating some of those workshops, their home visiting team who are actually taking the hands-on activities or the videos, and when doing home visits are integrating it or talking about with families how easy it is to implement that math talk, as we know that math is everywhere. There's community play groups, there's FFN groups that are implementing family math and having those discussions and different activities that they can implement at home with their little ones. We're also working with Justice Care Opportunities Department, where they are supporting their families during monitored visits. They usually support nutritious meals or sometimes snacks, and so they'll be doing the activity booklets and engaging while having those meals. They'll also be having their caseworkers implement it during monitored visits. Another one that I'll touch on also is the libraries, and the way the libraries are implementing it is during their story times. Next slide, please. And I'm going to hand it over to Rosemary to share a little bit of the feedback we've received throughout the community.
Yeah, so we just put a couple of testimonials here from a workshop participant and a mom who's been in our family math program, echoing a lot of the sentiments that we've heard on this webinar today about how when we cook together, we're realizing that like math can be learned through cooking and measurements, and that kids absorb everything like little sponges, and interactions in the kitchen are really important and the perfect place to embed these early math conversations. And a really fun, playful way to do it. So we wanted to end by sharing where can you find these resources. As we mentioned throughout, everything is available for free. And so we have, I'll drop these links in the chat as well. We have our Family Math Toolkit. So if you are looking to grab the activity book for cooking counts or the workshop materials, you can go to our Family Math Toolkit. You register just one time. Like I said, it's all free. And then there you'll see little bubbles where you can click on activity books or workshops and grab those resources. We also have our Family Math Kids YouTube channel where you can watch the Cooking Count show along with our other content. And then more recently, we've launched a Family Math micro-credential for educators and providers, and really anyone who's looking to deepen their family engagement skills around early math. And that is a 3-part course that we do provide credit for and certificates of completion. And we do cover the topic of math and nutrition and cooking in that micro-credential program. So if you are interested, I put the link there as well. And thank you all for joining us.
This was amazing. Rosemary, Brianna, Carla, Lanisha, Jeanette, Holly, everyone who's here, feel free to come on screen. We have a little bit of time for some questions to ask of you all. And actually, the very first question I wanted to ask, Carla, maybe I can ask you, but Rosemary and Brianna, I don't know if you want to jump in. I think the notion of your, translingualing, the transcreation of the materials, I think it's so powerful and so interesting. Like, tell us more how you do that. What's your process for that? What recommendations would you have for other folks who are listening in and want to, make sure that they're doing that same type of work?
Sure thing. Well, it's a team project, really. It's a team effort, right? So we have a working group, a Spanish working group in our early learning department where we have a template where we throw in resources in English and we review them on our own time. Then we meet every couple of weeks to go over any questions or any roadblocks that we've hit as we're reviewing independently. And yeah, we try to make some of our criteria as we're transcreating content is to make sure that our Spanish is neutral, right? There's a lot of regional terms and phrases that, for example, I always use this example that the word slide at the playground has like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 words, depending on where you are speaking Spanish. So we try to make sure that it's neutral. We try to make sure that the examples themselves, the terminology is culturally relevant, right? Just like we talked about with Lemonade Stand. And we also have external support. We have a couple of interpreters, translators who could potentially do a first pass of the content, and then we filter it through our family math guidelines and our vocabulary. So yeah, it's a little bit about our process, our workflow.
Really great. And Rosemary, we always think about data and continuous learning and how we use information that we collect to make better decisions, and really to understand the influence that we're having. And I really loved some of the quotes that you shared from the families who participated. Can you talk a little bit more about your data collection process? What kinds of data you collect, and maybe like how you've used them, either to improve the resources that you've created or even to be able to show the impact that you're having?
Absolutely. So we're very fortunate to have an internal evaluator on staff who is consistently capturing both qualitative and quantitative data. We really look at those 3 core metrics for family math, so confidence, positivity, and knowledge. And we look at how parents, caregivers grow in those areas as a result of participating in family math workshops and engagement. So when we have a series of workshops, we'll do a pre and post to really see the growth over time in those areas. And then we also ask questions about the trickle to the child. So are you having more conversations at home? What do you notice your child's attitude is like around those conversations? Do you notice your child initiating more kind of math learning opportunities together? And then we've also taken a deeper dive. So we've done case studies as well, where we actually will follow a family over a period of time, a small group of families, to really deeply understand what does math look like for them. What are their routines? What are their math moments that pop up? Because no 2 families have the same cadence to their day or places that they go every day. So from an internal standpoint, we conduct surveys, we do the case studies that I mentioned. For any new gaming content or app content, we do play tests. So for our app alone, I think we just completed our 3rd or 4th round of play testing, making sure that user experience is clear for both the adults and the child, making sure it's fun and engaging. Those are some of our favorite days, getting to do play testing. And then we've also partnered externally with the Stanford Center on Early Childhood to have a third-party evaluation of family math. And so we did an evaluation about a year ago where we looked at the implementation of the program in California, but also in 2 additional states. So with Arizona and with Alabama, we all have very geographically and demographically different contexts that we were implementing the program in. So we were looking at not only implementation, but also impact of family math in different areas across the country. And that study can be found. I can drop the link in the chat on Stanford's website. And we were very pleased and fortunate to see statistically significant growth in positivity, confidence, and knowledge. And then right now we're actually in a control group study with the Stanford Center on Early Childhood again, taking evaluation a step further in terms of rigor to look at a family math program against a control group and what growth and impact do we see there. So evaluation continues to be a very important part of everything we do. We co-design with families from the very start, all of our programming. I think it's constantly informing different iterations of our program, constantly refining things that you'll find in the toolkit. And so it continues to be a core component of our.
That's great, Rosemary. Holly, can I just Rosemary, if you can put that report in the chat. Eric is asking if it would be possible to share the pre and post unit questionnaires. So I don't know if those are, an appendix in the study or if they're somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, so I see you already just dropped the link. That was fast.
Yes, that's in there. And then Eric, we also have something in our toolkit called evaluation pathways, where if you're interested in implementing family math and evaluating it, we provide a guide of questions and ways that we've implemented evaluation. And so I can drop a link in there too.
That'd be great. Sorry, Holly, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh no,
off.
that's okay. I was gonna highlight that one that one request in the chat, and also invite other people to put their questions in the chat. I have lots of questions. Maybe I'll just throw one or two since we have a little bit more time. One thing I was just thinking, and Maggie, this is a little off topic maybe than what you thought I was going to ask, but I've been thinking of Jilliana Melsey's research at NYU, and she did research with Spanish-speaking families with young children, and a lot of the family math that came up was not just dyadic, not just between a parent and child, but like a whole family group. And I've just been thinking a lot about cooking and mealtime really, and how that might involve different generations and lots of little kids and big kids all together, and that math could be a part of the conversation and the traditions of eating meals around the table. But I'm wondering, even if in the research for your cooking show or in some of the feedback that you're hearing, if that is something that you're experiencing too, that it's not just, one kid and one grown up.
Yeah, during the filming of the show, we scripted out, obviously, right, according to curriculum and script. But we left it also open for Patty and Oliver to have genuine conversations along the way, right, to react as they were cooking together. And I remember one of the stories that came up just in passing as they were cooking onions, right? Patty said, this reminds me, this smell, it takes me back to when I was a child. And and she's talking to Oliver when your grandma was making beans in the kitchen and I would wake up, right? So these stories are just these traditions and this storytelling that happens so naturally in the kitchen. It really connects children to learning, right? And practicing math along the way. So I completely agree that it becomes a very organic experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess I'm also curious if you've thought or heard feedback, and I'd just invite others to drop into the chat ideas they have for how you might be able to kind of age this up to older kids too, and also connect it to what's happening in the classroom. Like we had another webinar with a math educator who, even with older kids, was and it was culturally relevant too, because they were doing a recipe for fufu. He's from Angola, but using a recipe that was very a typical sort of cornmeal staple in different African countries, which were some of the immigrants that were members of this class, and their families were very excited about this particular recipe. But making those connections between what can happen in class and how math concepts in class can also be illustrated in the same way that families are cooking at home. It just anyway, I don't know if that's something that that you all have seen play out, and if others who are on the call have ideas about that too, or experiences with that. Sorry, that was a lot.
I can jump in, Holly, and share some of the ways that we've also integrated different age groups. And this might not be what so much you're asking, but I do want to give some other examples as well. We worked with a high school actually where the students got trained on our family math training of trainers. And the high school students got to facilitate the workshops with the families and support that engagement. So, including those older ones as well. Separately, as you're talking about including the whole family as a whole, I touched a little bit about how we're working with organizations that work with family, friends, and neighbors, which is that FFN project. Most of the time, it's grandparents, aunts, and uncles, or a neighbor taking care of those children. And so we have partners who are now taking on the family initiative that we're training, and they're integrating those workshops into those FFN spaces where they're gathering them all together. And so you have grandparents joining that, aunts and uncles, or you have parents who are joining as well. And the way that we best explain it when facilitating with multiple age groups of children is the steps that are included in most of the activities show you an image where an adult might need to participate to help the child. And a lot of the older children sometimes step in on those steps to integrate everybody together. So we've seen it like after school programs who are running workshops, and they have the older kids and the younger ones. So it becomes a whole family kind of dynamic for them to support each other, and the older ones get involved. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of those examples, and hopefully that kind of answers some of the questions you had.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to ask a question and I'm going to show my own parenting side. Sometimes I really do want to engage my three daughters in cooking and, making meals. And I'm going to be honest, it's like a long day at work. Everybody's coming home from school and everyone's busy. And I just sometimes don't have, the strength or energy to have these really rich, wonderful conversations. So what kind of recommendation do you have for families, or, what are some things you could say to families so they don't feel like the pressure of always having to be sharing mathematical ideas every time you're trying to rush and cook? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Maggie. My kids are prime family math age, 4 and 6, and dinner time, depending on our day, can be total chaos, or it can be, come cook with me. So I always say as a parent, I sometimes have to use screen time when I'm making dinner because people have to eat and I need a second to be able to cook. I'll just say for us personally, Friday nights and the weekends tend to be the time where I feel like as a parent, I am in the best position to be able to engage in these kinds of ways. We never strive for perfection. We don't think it's realistic that every single meal and snack you prepare, you're going to be like, what shape are you making? Let's count the strawberries. Because sometimes you got to get food in them and they got to get out the door. And so it's about finding, again, we want family math to fit into your daily routine. And so if it starts to feel like a chore or another thing you have to remember to do, then it's not going to become deeply embedded in your day to day. And so it's about finding that time where you as a parent are in a space to show up that way. Your kids are in a space where they're, able to engage in that way. And sometimes those two things will align and sometimes they won't. So I think it's just about giving yourself that grace. And, maybe the weekends are more a time where you try to embed that a bit more. And maybe during the week, it's instead thinking about, the drive to school or the walk to school and pointing out shapes, but you're not trying to pack it into, making meals during the week. So, math is everywhere. Math is in everything we do. And so, giving ourselves that grace and time.
I appreciate that. Jeanette and Lanisha, I saw you both nodding on that one. And I know that in your work, you focus also a lot on children um, who have learning differences. And I don't know if you might want to speak a little bit to, the power of cooking and math and food in those contexts, or, any advice you have from your standpoint about like how to juggle this as a parent.
Go ahead, Anisha. Did you want to go ahead or?
No, I'll definitely leave this one up to you.
Well, I will say that, first of all, this was so well presented. So I will say that I think that it gives us as parents opportunities to really look at those moments that we can have with our children in the kitchen and lead that into those teachable moments. For those families that have children with learning differences, I know myself as a parent in that lived experience, it really gives parents that agency to see their child be able to make those connections, and who does not connect to the love of food and the culture and what that brings. So I find that, and I don't recall, I don't know if it was Brianna who said it, or it likely was Lanisha, where we said that cooking is universal. So it really carries through for all children, whether they have learning differences or not. So I think every family can really hone in into looking at this as an experience with their children, but also making learning fun, because it should be fun. Our children should not feel that learning is a punishment. And so I think it is just fantastic and very well delivered. So thank you.
We're going to advance our slides in one moment. But for the PBS SoCal group, I'm going to ask you each to end with just one piece of advice. If there's something that someone who's watching this webinar and is thinking about using your material and thinking about embedding cooking counts into their work, what piece of advice would you offer? I'll give you all a minute or so to what comes to mind for you? What do you want people to take away?
We created Family Math and the Cooking Counts offering to be adaptable. So there is no one right way to go about Family Math, or to no set sequence you need to follow. It's meant to be a starting point. It's meant to be inspiration. There are slides and guides there if they are helpful, but your family's best, your kids best. And so we hope that it can be a useful tool in your toolbox, but please feel free to take this and adapt it for your unique context.
I would say lead with curiosity, right? I think there's just so much that is available within your everyday routines already, within your workflow in the kitchen, right? So anything that can inspire a child to ask a question, to ask, well, is this bigger or is this smaller, right? What is the shape of this can, right? Whatever it is, I think that'll go a long way.
Our goal is to not make this anything extra. So both for the parent and for the community partner, as Rosemary mentioned, everything is adaptable. So for parents, our hope is to empower them and let them know they're already doing this in their daily activities. Most likely they're already using Math Talk. They're already implementing activities like this. We're just aligning it with the data or with the context behind it to support how it's supporting their brain development or how it's supporting family engagement. And on the partner aspect, our goal is not to give you more work or say, here's this amazing thing we have, start implementing it. Our goal is to let you know you're probably already doing this also. You're probably already facilitating engaging spaces. You're probably already out in the community. We've just developed something that you can add your brand to it, because there's also co-branding opportunities, and you can implement it with the families you serve as an extra resource for yourself. So again, nothing extra for either the parent or the partner.
That's terrific. Um, So I think I'm taking away, I can't wait to read your report about your outcomes across the three different sites. I think like not only for me am I hearing that this is fun and it's engaging, but it has a real impact, which is exciting as well. So with that, we're going to do a little bit of wrap up. Lori, if you can advance the slide, I know that there's been some conversation in the chat box around the a survey, but we are going to ask if you could take a moment to complete the survey that was an AI generated a picture of some dogs asking you to help complete the survey. But on the next slide, what you'll see is that this is part of a three-part series where we are really diving into the power of math and food. So our next webinar is going to be taking place on Wednesday, March 18th, and we are going to be focusing on cooking, culture, and nutrition. And we are excited because we are going to have a panel conversation with a number of parent leaders from our Parent Family Leadership Council who are going to be sharing some of the meals they make and the ways that they embed math into their everyday cooking activities. And then on April 1st, we have another exciting webinar that's going to look at supermarket math, budgeting, and making smart and healthy choices with children. And we're really excited to have Robin Palmer, who is the Director of Entrepreneurship and Financial Math with the Arizona Council of Economic Education, who's going to talk about the math of groceries, which we're really excited for as well. So we have some really exciting content lined up for you over the next few weeks. I also want to give one more plug, and you're going to see this coming to you from various angles, but if you see on the next slide, please do think about contributing to the Math of Food recipe book that Lanisha shared with us at the very beginning of this webinar. It's a really exciting way for you to share some of your own math stories, and we're hoping to get representation from lots of different states and families. So thank you, Lanisha, for that wonderful idea. On the next slide, we also wanted to draw your attention to the NAFSCE National Assembly for Family Engagement, which is going to be taking place in San Diego at the very end of October. If you go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit of a QR code that will give you an opportunity to learn more about and even register for the assembly. And we, at the beginning of the webinar, we were talking with our California friends who presented so wonderfully here today. They will be there and you can see them in person. And I know that Lanisha and Jeanette are making the trip cross country as well to be there. So there's lots of ways for us to connect in person. And on the final screen, just a note, please do think about joining NAFSCE today, where you can access, you can access all the Center for Family Math webinars, you can also access past webinars for that look at policy and practice and family engagement more generally in our archive. So all of that to say, it has been such a wonderful experience having Carla, Rosemary, Brianna, you here today, and we're so grateful to you, Lanisha and Jeanette, for making this happen and bringing New Jersey's work to everyone who is part of the Center for Family Math Network. We can't wait to see you all in 2 weeks, where we think about cooking across cultures. And please take our survey, and otherwise we can't wait to see you real soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, PBS SoCal and SPAN and of course Maggie for coordinating such a great webinar.
Thank you. This is
Thank
such
you,
exciting
everyone.
stuff.
Thank you. This was so awesome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Great to meet everyone.